Yes, the Eagles and the Super Bowl hangover topic. That was going to be the main topic today, and it still probably will be. Actually, the Eagles will still probably dominate the headline and the conversation today. But man, Michael Lorenzen, I know who you are now. Throwing the 14th no hitter in Phillies history. What a romantic, magical night at Citizens Bank Park last night. We got to talk Phillies today, too. Yes, it's going to be more Phillies and baseball today, guys. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network starts in 30 seconds.
Fourth and goal.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, X, all the social media platforms out there. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, the follow button. Turn the notifications on. You don't want to miss a moment of the action here on Trending in the AM ever, as we're here live every single morning, 8:15 in the morning, and it's the only morning show in Philadelphia where your opinions actually matter, because that's what it is. This show is for the people. Good morning, Tyrone. How you doing today? Yes, Adam, best ball game of the year last night. Look, it is going to be football pretty much every day for the rest of the year, but there will be a little baseball talk today. I won't lie, because when something magical happens, you got to talk about it. You got to talk about Michael Lorenzen, the guy I very adamantly said on this show and on Twitter, who the hell did the Phillies just trade for? Not even knowing he was part of the All-Star game. And he goes out there and throws the 14th no-hitter in Phillies history last night at Citizens Bank Park. Packed house, almost a sellout. Got to witness that history last night. And man, the stories last night. When people say, like yesterday, you guys, man, Chatter, K1, all the regulars in the comments, crushing baseball and baseball being boring and whatnot. Man, the magic last night. Just think of it. Nick Castellanos hit 2 home runs last night. His 199th, and he hits his 200th career home run. But that is overshadowed by 28-year-old rookie Weston Wilson making his debut, first at bat in the majors. 28 years old, been grinding in the minors, hits a home run in his first at bat. And that's overshadowed by Michael Lorenzen, the guy the Phillies just traded for 2 weeks ago, in his second start, his first at home in front of his new fans, and goes out and throws a no-hitter. Just talk about magic in baseball. I mean, football's fun and all, but you don't see those kind of stories just don't happen. A perfect ball game, a no-hitter, first career home run. I mean, what's bigger? Catching that first pass or first touchdown pass in the NFL, or in your first at-bat, hitting a home run and not being the talk of the town. Man, those are the kind of magical things that help propel a team into the playoffs, into the World Series, or in other sports, into their championship. If you can't get excited, and if you can't have that feel-good moment. Look, I was sitting there watching the game, and as it got to the 7th inning, I kind of went from leaning back to leaning up. Then we get to the 8th inning, I'm kind of leaning forward. Then we get to that bottom of the 9th inning, I am standing. And I am on the edge every pitch for Michael Lorenzen there. Guy had passed his career high in pitches in the 8th inning. You got a guy like Rob Thompson. I'm so surprised Rob Thompson let him finish that game. He ended up throwing 124 pitches, above and beyond the most he's ever thrown. But damn, Rob Thompson let him go out there. Rob Thompson said after the game that if he had to pull him, he knew he'd have to wear a bulletproof vest to deflect the boos that would have came. But man, just the magic, the excitement. If you don't feel like a child again when you're watching something like that, I don't know. You don't have any. You're heartless if you don't get excited about and romanticize about what happened last night at a Citizen Bank Park, and for Michael Lorenzen and Weston Wilson and Nick Castellanos and the entire organization. I saw somebody say, JT, he didn't shake JT once off last night. He threw every single pitch JT called. Oh, man, JT. I mean, the catcher won't get the credit for the no-hitter, but it was a hell of a game from him. Trey Turner getting hits in the leadoff spot. The Phillies look like they're ascending even more than they already are, and yet you have something magical like last night. It's exciting, it's fun, it's beautiful. It's what baseball is about. I mean, those moments. You see Nick Castellanos hit his second home run of the night, gets him to 200. His son's in the crowd, and just his son is just so always there, and so excited for his dad when he gets to watch him play baseball and all. You gotta love it. When you see the video of Lorenzen's mom and wife there, and the mom's just one more pitch. How can't you worry about like you gotta love that. When Weston Wilson hits his home run and you just see the video of his dad just bawling his eyes out in the outfield. It's magical. That's what baseball is. A manager worried about booze is a bit problematic. Well, yeah, it was more sarcasm when he said that. But Rob Thompson is a very analytical guy. He knows that Michael Lorenzen was a regular reliever that just turned into a starter. He's already thrown more innings. He had never thrown over 105 pitches or something like that. Knew he was on the edge of his being gassed as a pitcher. But, when he's throwing the way he is and you got the no-hitter on the line, you got to extend it. You got a lot of days off coming up. He was more saying the booze thing as a sarcasm. He obviously doesn't care about the booze. The way he writes his lineups, the way he manages his team, he makes a lot of weird, odd choices that we always boo or complain about. But they seem to work. Because Rob Thompson's got this magic touch that no matter what he does, now almost 2 years, June of last year he took over the team, so a little over a year. He's been managing this team. Every weird decision he makes, it works out. I mean, last night's lineup, like what the hell? We got 4 minor leaguers in there. It worked out. And not only did it work out, you get the no-hitter. Just all the moments last night. Like, you see, Weston Wilson's dad, and he's just tearing up out there after his son hits a home run. Just tearing up. Then you hear the stories about, Michael Lorenzen's dad passing away and his mom and wife there with their baby. And, if you don't tear up, if you don't feel the romance or the magic in the air on something like that, man, it's just, I saw a story this morning that Lorenzen's mom was supposed to board a plane in the morning to fly back to wherever they're from. I think I saw Phoenix or something like that, or Arizona somewhere. And she's like, nah, I'm going to, delay the flight. I'm going to go and watch him pitch one more time before I head home. And she stays around, and that's what he goes out there and do. Man. This is the kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we're going to talk Eagles most of the day. We're only giving the Phillies 15 minutes here at the start. We're going to talk those Eagles and the hangover and stuff. But, man, like, there's a chance the Phillies will be a topic of conversation more often than not coming up in September and October as we start this next push towards October and World Series baseball and playoff baseball. This is the kind of thing, a team that's on the cusp. Like, we got a 3.5 game lead now. We're a number 1 wild card team. We're at the top of the wild card. We are 3.5 games up over last. I think we got a 4.5 game lead over the team outside of the wild card. We're going to make the playoffs. How well we do, how far up the standings we go, that's another subject. But this win today, or last night, this no-hitter, all the magic that happened last night, that's the kind of stuff that brings a locker room together. I don't know if you saw, I saw pictures of the Lorenzen walking in the locker room. There was some haze going on, some fun going on in that locker room last night. But last night is the type of night that makes a team even tighter. They are Marshawn hitting their stride at the right time. Everybody, Trey Turner's busting out of his slump. Nick Castellanos on fire. Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott are lights out. Yeah, something special might be happening with the Phillies. And even if it's not something special, which I do agree, it's something special. But something like last night, could you just imagine, like, a locker room, a tight locker room? And it just brings them even tighter. They're all going to be hanging out. Do you see when Michael Lorenzen out there being interviewed by the broadcast booth, and every single one of his teammates stood on the top step waiting for him to finish his interview, to congratulate him again. Then he stops before he even goes back to them, takes pictures with his wife and kid and mom, and they still stay there and wait because he's been here with this team for less than 2 weeks, and last night's the type of night that makes him part of something. I think they already brought dancing on their own back. I really do think they brought that up. Mad Chatter is in the house. I do know something. I know that baseball, even though you guys hate it, can be magical at times. And I don't think you get the magic of last night in any other sport. I'm pretty sure those kind of magical moments, it's such a team but individualized sport as well. I just don't think you get those magical moments and those magical feelings in other teams. And it's, there's some negative to talk about outside of Eagles camp from yesterday. Not negative per se, some things that people think are negative. We're going to discuss if they are or not. But Phillies baseball, I'm officially here on August 10th. I'm officially going to say I'm back. They're back, and I'm back. All in on them. I don't care about my distaste for Rob Thompson's decisions. I don't care about my distaste for how the lineup is constructed or how certain players are performing. That magic is there with this team again. Part of it's got to be Rob Thompson. Whether I like him or not, Rob Thompson plays a role in this team. Whether I agree with his decisions or not, meaningless. I am back in giving them my full support and not doubting a thing they do. Then the lineup will come out tonight, and I'll be like, this lineup sucks. But something magical happened last night. And while taking the division from Atlanta, being 10.5 back, got about 2 months left in the season, very unlikely. But locking up that top wild card spot seems like a probability. Cole Hamels in his retirement. I think Cole Hamels, and you had Ryan Howard in the booth last night, and I think Cole Hamels is the last of that 08 team to officially retire. Don't quote me on that, but I think I heard that on the broadcast one of the last couple days. I think it's interesting because I think Cole Hamels, I'll get back to Cole Hamels in a second. Yes, golf, I think, actually has that magic too because there's a lot of individualistic, and tennis. Baseball is a team sport, but there's a lot of individualness to each game, and golf is like that. And tennis is like that for sure. Cole Hamels, last of that 08 team, I believe, to retire, and they were talking about the Phillies Wall of Fame, and they were talking about, I saw somebody talking about how Roy Halladay's numbers retired. Yeah, he pitched here very briefly. An amazing pitcher, no-hitter, perfect game, whatnot. Cy Young, whatever. But they're talking about if Roy Halladay's numbers retired, how can we not retire Cole Hamels? We do not win that World Series in 2008 without Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels was clearly the MVP of that playoff run. Cole Hamels was here for how long? He was a homegrown guy. We brought him up through our system, and he was a mainstay before 07, but from 07 to 2011, a mainstay through the no-hitters twice. Once on his own, once as the team effort. I think Cole Hamels' number does need, he'll be on the Wall of Fame. 90% of that 08 team will be on the Wall of Fame. But Cole Hamels' number does need to be retired. If you're going to retire Roy Halladay, Coles has got to go too. And if you look at that 08 team, Coles has got to go up there. Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and Jimmy Rollins. The rest, Shano, he'll go on the Wall of Fame, but he doesn't need retired. Carlos Ruiz will go on the Wall of Fame, doesn't need retired. Brad Lidge will go on the Wall of Fame someday. Doesn't need to be retired. But Cole Hamels has to be retired, in my opinion. I think I have to activate my NFL Plus account. Why? Just because I'm talking baseball? I know you're not a baseball guy, man, Chatter. But how can you not romanticize about a no-hitter in your first game at your new stadium, in the same game where the rookie that's 28 years old gets his first chance at 28, hits a home run in his first at-bat, where one of your star players hits his 200th home run in a game with his son in the crowd. You got dads crying, you got moms cheering, you got babies jumping up and down. You got to get excited about a little bit of fun and magic in the air, because that's what it is. It's magic in the air. Tennis has that magic for sure. Federer versus Nadal. Hell, the Agassi versus Sampras, the flu game where Sampras is throwing up on the side of the court at the U.S. Open. I don't know when that was. That was like 97, maybe 98. There's some magic there. What was that guy that American really tall guy? Never really lived up to his height, but he had like that one match at Wimbledon where he went like 37 games, like the tiebreaker. It just kept going on and on. It's like an 8-hour match. I had to cancel it because of darkness and then pick it up the next morning. Like there's magic in tennis. Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Sampras and Agassi back in the day. I'm sure before my time with McEnroe and stuff like that, there was magic. No, by tonight, terrible Patriots versus crap Texans. Yeah, well, there's preseason football, and Saturday's the first Eagles game, and we will cover a lot of that game tomorrow. What we're going to look for in that first Eagles preseason game against the Ravens. Hey, taking it back. I'm old, Marshawn. I got into tennis. I played tennis because of Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras. There was also you had Chang was his name. There was another guy. I think his name was Chang. Then you had Boris. What was the Bjork? No, Boris Becker. There was a European guy. There were some great tennis players in the late '90s. Then on the women's side, you had Agassi and Graf and Martina Hingis. I had such a thing for Martina Hingis growing up. Tonight's the sports drought get closer to an end. Football. Football was back last week. Can you believe Agassi used to play wearing a wig? I cannot believe that. Andre Agassi, man, he's one of the guys that put tennis on the map in the United States, really, like mainstream. But like Sampras was the far better player, but Agassi was the more popular player. He was also dating supermodels and actresses and stuff. Michael Chang. Where did I see him? I saw him on TV. Was he on the pickleball ball contest or something? I saw Michael Chang somewhere. Michael Chang was a really good, solid guy. He wasn't short, stock, like thick. He was thick. He had typical tennis, thick legs and stuff. I don't know why I remember him so well. Lorenzen's mom and wife probably had no idea what a no-hitter means, but they were excited for him. By the end of that game, they knew what it meant. And if you can't get excited, like I know we're a football show. I know the whole entire – there is no baseball in the description of this show. I made this show up at about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. There's no baseball in the description. People are tuning in and wanting the Eagles talk. But how you can't get excited for them, for him, for that moment. And obviously, the announcers bringing up his father who had passed away, in the last few years. Just a moment and, him just pointing to the sky like, dude, when they were interviewing, I won't lie. I lost my father, when I was a young man. Whenever I hear the father story, like that, man, the tear. When Weston Wilson's dad's crying on the home run last night, like I won't lie, there's a little bit of dirt that welled up in my eye there, a little bit of a substance. What is this substance? Salty substance. I'm like, yeah, I won't lie, it happens. Happens to the best of us. Stefan Edberg, it's a great name right there. Phil, you don't come off as a tennis guy. I play tennis. So I grew up in an area where I went to the park all the time to play basketball. But yet I was the white guy, the only one there. And there's tennis courts there. So while I was waiting for my chance on the basketball court, until I earned my right on that court, I hit some tennis balls. And then I got into it. I love tennis. I love golf. I love individual sports like that. Because there's no blame in anybody else in tennis. There's no blame in anybody else in golf. You can only blame yourself. If you lose a tennis match, it's your fault. Or your opponent was just better than you. Pistol Pete. Wasn't that a basketball player? But it's a great name. Well, there's a chicks in tennis. Stop. I missed the serve and volley days. Tennis was so different. Steffi Graf. There was pickleball, an Andre Agassi versus Andy Roddick thing with some pickleball stars on ESPN a while ago, and Steffi Graf was there supporting her husband. She came out. She still looks good. Still looks good for her age. She looks like she could still go out there. Martina Hingis. It was Hin, just so you know. Could have been the good if she hadn't fallen off a horse and torn her ACL. Yeah, like I don't know what it was. I think it was just the time frame and all. I had such a thing for Martina Hingis growing up. She was like, I just wanted to play a little tennis with her on the tennis court. We'll just say that. Yeah, what is this salty? If you know what show I'm talking about, it's a quote from a TV show. What is this salty discharge? You're only cool if you know what I'm talking about there. Bless you and your. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Everything I do is for him. Pat Rafter is another player I enjoyed watching. I don't actually remember that name, Pat Rafter. I don't. I'll have to Google search it. I probably watched him. I just don't remember him. But anyway, I don't know how we're talking tennis here when we're talking baseball, and then we're going to get into football here. But magic, man. Baseball is magical. There's so many magical moments that happen in a baseball season across all of major leagues. And, the eyes of Philadelphia. And we spent a little time yesterday with Mark talking about how the image of Philly's changing. And we're such a different city now, and our fans are so great. And you just see the crowd last night at the park, and nobody left after that game. I see a name on my side screen. It hasn't popped up here yet, Davey. Anna Kournikova. That I used to call Ace Queen, the Anna Kournikova of poker. Pretty looking hand, but it don't win you nothing. She was more supermodel than tennis player. This is amazing. I know. We're up to 35 comments now, and all we're doing is talking tennis. I'll do a tennis, but I don't watch tennis as much as I used to. But man, I'm telling you, I don't miss any of the major finals. I'll tell you that much. The game has changed a lot, and I will say, tennis would be more popular in America if the top stars were American. And that's not to say that Djokovic isn't a great tennis player, that Nadal's not a good tennis player. It just means that you gravitate, like in the 90s, you gravitated towards Sampras and Agassi because they were Americans and they represented our country in a very, international sport. The same thing would happen in golf. Right now, the top golfers, Scheffler and Spieth and Ricky Fowler, you got a lot of great golfers that are American that you gravitate towards cheering for against an international field. But in tennis right now, I mean, there are no big tennis stars that are from the U.S. So it kind of does kill the sport in this country. Kournikova, oh my, yeah, she was well known because she was in pictures and videos and that's what I'm saying, Kay. Well, I don't know why. Like, it's just not the sport that people pick up. It's just not. Like, it's a dying sport in America, and they need one kid to break out and be a star so bad. They do, and then I don't even remember her name. Wasn't there a girl a couple years ago that was breaking out and it just didn't work out? I guess I think she retired or something like that early. NWO for life. That's right. Wolfpack for life. Sharapova. Oh. I watched a thing on A&E about Hollywood. Yeah, that's right. There you go. You need dominant stars to move the needle, and American stars are just not like, yeah, a tennis fan. Someone like myself that loves tennis will watch a Roger Nadal versus Djokovic match. Of course, I'm going to. I love the sport. That Wimbledon finals with Djokovic was amazing. But it's not going to get the casual fan to tune in. It's just not. And we need we need some investment in a great sport. What can I be serious about? I'm not even sure. Missing something there, Davey. I'm not sure. Sorry, I was a little behind on the comments there, so I don't know. You sent that, and there's always a little delay. I'm not sure what you're not serious about. But anyway, McEnroe's line. John McEnroe's great. He was in that pickleball thing against Andre Agassi, and he was screaming and cussing. And my wife's like, "Is that normal?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's a tennis court in my subdivision, but no one ever uses it." I couldn't play tennis anymore, not with my bad leg, but I would love to get out on a tennis court and just start volleying back and forth just for the fun. People don't understand how great of a workout tennis is. And you see, we talk about football players' careers ending. You see tennis players' careers not last long. The wear and tear on the knees, the wear and tear on the back, you see it a lot. Who was the tennis lady we all liked before smartphones? I don't know. Kournikova, maybe? Sharapova, maybe? Oh. I must have missed it. Sorry. I missed it. I missed one. I'm sorry. Was Sharapova or the other one? Sharapova and Kournikova were both big female stars. Do I have a white head thing? I don't even know what that means either. I'm missing these jokes, guys. I'm missing them. All right. Off of tennis. You can't be serious. Okay. I gotcha. I understand what you're saying now. I'm missing. I'm trying to read comments about tennis. I'm prepared for football, trying to talk baseball, and we're talking tennis. You guys got me all over the place. The tennis court at my subdivision always packed. You must live in an over 55 community. Pickleball is the thing that's taken over America now. Pickleball actually is pretty entertaining. Does the head pick covet Kelly Green? No. No. Anyway, let's wrap the tennis. Let's move off of tennis there. Let's move on. Maybe I'll do a U.S. Open preview in a few weeks. Do I think Morrow gets cut? I actually do think Morrow gets cut. I won't be surprised, and that'll be more heavily into tomorrow's conversation, where we're talking about the first preseason game. We're gonna be looking at the fringe 53 roster position guys, and they're gonna have to play and earn their right in that first preseason game. Morrow's one of them for sure. Tennis talk is tilting me. I wasn't prepared. Now I'm just thinking that Andre Agassi Pete Sampras matchup at the U.S. Open when Sampras was throwing up. That's all I can't get that out of my mind. I'm sorry. Relax. All right. Moving off of baseball or tennis. Wrapping up baseball. Let's get those likes up. We got 12 likes on YouTube, only 1 on Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button. I'd greatly appreciate that. Magic at Citizens Bank Park. It was. And if you want to keep talking about it, we can. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place here. But let's get back to what you guys all want me to talk about. What y'all come here to talk about. I always say your opinion actually matters. So baseball, tennis, that's not what you want to talk about. You want to talk football. And a couple things outside of yesterday's training camp. So first off, the show is titled "The Eagles Will Not Have a Super Bowl Hangover," and that is something I want to keep that thread going as we talk about this. And I think it was K1 brought it up yesterday at the end of the show that we're not going to have a hangover. What team leaving the Super Bowl ends up getting better like the Eagles have this offseason, adding 2 first-round draft picks? I think the Super Bowl hangover thing is a little overrated, and we're going to keep that flowing through this conversation. Reed Blankenship has a great defensive back's name. He does. One of the great sports names, Blankenship. And he's got his job locked up. He's got that safety 1 spot locked up. But some things out of Eagles training camp yesterday that I want to bring up. 2 topics I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the Derek Barnett situation. Got into the first fight of camp. Big surprise. And how everybody's overreacting to it, though. And, of course, it's all Derek Barnett's fault. Clearly, it can't be anybody else's fault. It's got to be Derek Barnett's fault. And then the other thing, and it's something that is getting blown out of proportion. It shouldn't be blown out of proportion, but it can be blown out of proportion. I understand why. And that's the Sean Desai being called out during practice by general manager Howie Roseman. Maybe not called out. Maybe that's not the right choice of words. The right choice of words might be getting corrected, being micromanaged by Howie Roseman. So Derek Barnett, obviously, let's see, they make up of this team kind of nullifies a slump. Exactly, I've said that before. I'll split that fight. Yeah, let's go. This team is not built for a Super Bowl hangover. The talent, the mental makeup. I've said it before on this show, guys. You've heard me say it. Now, I know we've got from weeks 10 through 15 or whatever it is. So we got Cowboys twice. We got 49ers, Buffalo, Kansas City. 5 games in a row. There's no way we lose more than 2 games in a row. The mental makeup of this team will not allow this team to lose more than 2 in a row. But it's more than just the mental. It's just the pure talent. You go have a Super Bowl team. You lose Javon Hargrave and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Basically, that's it. You got safeties. We're working on the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson thing. But then you got Jalen Carter to this team, Nolan Smith to this team. 2 top 10 talents added to this team in the draft. There's no way this team can have a Super Bowl hangover. And then obviously it comes back to the Jalen Hurts situation where Jalen Hurts won't let this team have a hangover. Nick Sirianni won't let this team have a hangover. No hanger. A.J. Brown said it best. Everyone knows the goal around here, and Jalen won't let us from a mental standpoint. And that's exactly it. Like, everybody nationally wants to talk about, and even some locally want to talk about the Super Bowl hangover and how that's going to be a problem. And I just don't buy it. I don't think this team is built to let that happen. Physically, as on a talent standpoint, and mentally. Training camp fights. Good old realization you're going to the XFL frustration. I haven't heard about Howie Desai. So, I see some other people comment. So, there was some issues going on in practice yesterday, and it's been reported that defense is behind the offense. And there was a communication error. And I guess Desai was supposed to have the second or first stringers out there, and he misheard communication on it. And Howie Roseman was back there watching, and he called out Desai, yo, you're making a mistake. These guys need to be out on the field right now practicing on the 11-on-11s. So, on one side, Howie Roseman is micromanaging Sean Desai. The second side, it's showing that Sean Desai, which is one of the big weaknesses, I think, of this team, or question marks, not weaknesses, question marks, of this team is we've got an inexperienced defensive coordinator. And the communication on defense isn't there yet. You've got issues with certain players on like offense. Every player on offense, you hear Cam Jurgens, OZ, you got Britton Covey and Dean Cain. We got all these guys growing and getting better on offense. But on defense, outside of a select few players, linebackers are struggling. Safeties are struggling to differentiate themselves. There's issues. And that goes to that. So on one side, it's a big deal because you don't want your general manager getting physically involved with coaching the defense. But on the flip side, it's a big deal because at this point in camp, Sean Desai should have an idea of what's going on. The communication amongst the defensive players and coaches should be better. So there's a very sticky situation there of letting Howie Roseman get too involved, but also Sean Desai needs to do a better job. They will be in the Super Bowl. Schedule's a lot harder, but there's a lot of teams that have a lot. The Eagles' schedule was a lot harder last year than people realize. Howie reminded Desai that he had the ones going against the twos when it should have been ones or versa. Yeah, it was something like that. But what's Howie Roseman doing and calling out? Like, isn't that Nick Sirianni's job? Or somebody else's? Or shouldn't Sean Desai have known what should have been going on there? And I think that it's a problem on both ends of the equation. Everyone thinks offensive linemen are good guys. I used to play O-line. They are nasty players. And that's on the Derek Barnett situation. Derek Barnett shoved Landon Dickerson from behind after a play in drills yesterday. And they got into it, and the team had to break it up and whatnot. And everyone's like, well, of course, Derek Barnett, Mr. A-hole, always gets penalties, starting to fight, because I always say, he's got a bad reputation. And a lot of his problems come from that reputation. But then it's reported by Tim McManus, Eagles beat reporter, that actually Landon Dickerson had a cheap chop block on Derek Barnett, and that's what it started from. Now, a chop block is not illegal in the situation it was used in there, but you don't do that in practice. You're going to injure the guy in practice. So part of it is Landon Dickerson's fault. Now, the retaliator in all sports, you have in basketball, somebody gets shoved, the ref doesn't see it, you retaliate and shove him under the basket, the ref sees the retaliation. It's the way it is in football. Everybody sees the retaliation. Nobody calls out the person that instigates. Now, Derek Barnett needs to be better. Derek Barnett is a fringe roster player. He needs to be better. He needs to change. We talk about the Philadelphia fans changing our reputation. Derek Barnett needs to change his reputation. But he doesn't do that by initiating the first fight at camp. Also, the pedigree of young players that Howie added. These guys come from winning program and culture, winning and accountability are foreign to these players. Absolutely. BLG hates Barnett. Brandon Lee got in his article, he had two different reports give two different takes, and he took one over the other. Yeah, no offense to BLG and BG Nation. A couple of the guys over there are pretty good, and we have Shane Half and Mr. Crockpot Deebs on here occasionally. But yeah, BLG, yeah, whatever. I go to certain people for my information. I go to the Philadelphia Sports Network guys. Mike Greger was down at camp. Brian Cameron. I listen to Ed Kratz. I listen to Tim McManus and Chris Franklin. That's it. They're my go-tos. I don't go to the other people. And occasionally, Elliot Shore Parks. I know he got a bad reputation. but he gives great camp updates, so I listen to him for that as well. His reputation precedes him. And, of course, every Eagles fan hears a fight, and they didn't even need a report. They heard there was a fight in camp. It was Barnett and Landon Dickerson. I guarantee 99% of the fans would have said it must have been Barnett's fault without reading or watching or listening to a single thing. That's unfortunate. Reviewing Eagles schedule. We'll have your total in a minute. I don't give totals on wins and losses till the week before the season starts. Heard Sidney Brown has dropped the forced safety. I have not heard that exactly. I think it's, from what I understand with the safeties, it's Reed Blankenship 1. That's a lock, done deal. And I think Kayvon Wallace is leading the way at number 2 right now. And I think Edmonds and Sidney Brown are both kind of 3A, 3B. Terrell Edmonds are working out at linebacker flex positions. Sidney Brown's probably 4th right now. But because of what they're doing with Edmonds, maybe he's kind of 3.5, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's an easy one. Are you going to go you're doing schedule by schedule. I'm not picking up every single one of these comments right now. We got rid of Gannon. How bad can the issue be? Well, Sean Desai, Davey, think about it. Sean Desai never won nothing. He had 1 year as a defensive coordinator in Chicago in 2021. Go look at what Chicago's record was in 2021. Not good. So supposedly it was his assistant's fault. Sean Desai. Yeah, but Sean Desai's got to be working on. He's got to be working on the communication. There have been communication issues on this defense throughout camp so far. People being in the wrong places. You know, it's not good when your general manager is calling out the brand new offensive coordinator on a practice. Dickerson cheap shot at Barnett, who was coming. Exactly, K1. But yet it's Barnett's fault. Because that's why I always say some of Barnett's penalties, like he gets hit with a personal foul penalty. It's not a personal foul most times. But the refs know number 96 normally is doing something wrong. So we see him near the quarterback. We're just going to throw the flag because we know he probably did something wrong. A lot of it is like that. That is right, Raekwon. Thanks for checking in. Go Birds. 4-0 through the first 4 weeks is very possible, man, chatter. Always the retaliator in all sports. You know, a baseball. We talked baseball. You know, you hit a home run and you stare at the ball and you fling your bat. Next batter comes up. Pitcher beans the next guy. The pitcher's getting in trouble for being that guy, not the other guy for the taunt. Basketball, always. You get a cheap shot where you're boxing out for a rebound. Then you shove the guy after the play. The shover gets called. Happens everywhere. These reporters be creating drama where there are none. Hey, drama sells. Drama does sell. But again, I feel like I really truly feel bad for Barnett. Barnett's fighting for a spot, not just on this team, but in the NFL. He's got a bad reputation. He's coming off an ACL injury. He's got a 1-year deal sitting here. So this is it, you know, this is his last chance unofficially, but you know, he'll go somewhere eventually, I'm sure, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like, read the whole story. You saw the reports. At least Tim McManus was reporting that Fletcher Cox was standing up for Barnett. Yeah, the defense is going to stand up for their boys. But he was calling out Landon Dickerson specifically saying, cheap shot. Howie Roseman needs to get a look at the second-team guys because he has input during camp cutdown. Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, I'm past thinking that I'm not against Howie Roseman having input in the team. He's now built multiple Super Bowl champions or winners or Super Bowl appearing teams. But physically involved in practice, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Honestly, I don't care because if it makes us better, that's all that matters to me. But when we're talking about a guy in Sean Desai where we have some questions already about, I don't know. It's like we always crush Jerry Jones because he's so physically involved with the team and he's psycho and insane. But Howie Roseman is the same way. He's so physically involved. He's not hold on. Let me say, he is a football mind now, I should say. I think at this point, he's been the general manager of this team for a very long time. We could say that he has a football mind now. But he's not a coach. I mean, it's like, yeah, I saw people joking we're one step closer to him being the offense or defensive play caller. I get it. I get that image. I think it's an overreaction to say it's bad that he was doing it. I think it's less of an overreaction to say that it's a problem about what Sean Desai is doing. Whether it was an assistant's fault or his, he's responsible for the defense. He shouldn't need his general manager calling him out on practice for messing something up. And that's a bad look. amongst your players. SB Nation is, yeah, I guess so. Safeties and linebackers will shake out during preseason games. And that'll be more towards tomorrow's conversation as well. I started doing a 53-man roster prediction to an extent, and I'm not going to go over every single position and all, but, the positions that I think have the most question marks are the ones I'm going to be looking at Saturday night. Running back, safety, linebacker. They're the positions. There aren't many camp battles up for grabs, but those three positions, there's a lot of them. My takes are like preseason, your regular season fill. I'm always fired up. Maybe Howie's seeing the safety and linebacker positions and think it's time to call Arizona and Baltimore. Well, we've already made some major additions to that linebacker room. More linebacker moves aren't going to be made anytime soon. Yeah, maybe another linebacker's brought in down the line, but right now they're going to give Jack and Cunningham plenty of opportunities, and then Morrow or Ellis will make this team. Ellis probably will. So you got to think about it. I don't have my notebook in front of me. I think last year 8 linebackers made the 53-man roster, but Nolan Smith or Hassan Reddick counts towards that group. You got to think, if they have 8 linebackers, 2 of them are Reddick and Nolan Smith. So that leaves you with 6. Okay? That's Jack, Cunningham, Dean. That leaves you with 3. Sean Bradley, huge special teams. Now you got 2 left. I guess it's Morrow and Ellis at this point, but maybe they go one less and add an extra safety because Terrell Edmonds can slide down. Maybe you got Patrick Robinson in that linebacker room, if he's healthy enough. There's a lot that could go on there. It'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out, but the preseason game will be a big factor there. Eagles fans with this roster, don't you think you should want a more challenging schedule? I don't care. I don't look into how tough the schedule is. I just look at each individual game. When I predict the schedule, man, chatter, before I do that show, I look at each game. And the opponent, I look at what their previous game was. I look at their next game. Do they have a trap game? Are they coming off a big division rival game? There's so much that goes into reading these schedules. Are they Thursday night games, Friday night games, Saturday night games, whatever? Still want Friday night games. Phil can't relax. That's what he is. I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed. Woosah. I'm always relaxed, my man. Always. I talk with a lot of personality and a lot of energy. Most dreaded words in football. Here are my fantasy players. Look, fantasy football. I tried to get my man Swagman on for tomorrow to talk some fantasy football. He couldn't. To be on next week to talk fantasy football. But we got to talk fantasy football. Got to get you guys ready for your drafts. Got to. Steen was handling Nolan Smith one-on-one at left tackle. Not sure if that's a good thing. What it is Tyler Steen. What I read out of this report is that Cam Jurgens is a lock at right guard. That battle's over. Tyler Steen is the guy at right guard. What they're doing now with Tyler Steen now, he might be that right guard of the future. When Cam Jurgens slides over and becomes the heir apparent to Jason Kelce. Which, on a side note, I'm at work yesterday at the pizza shop, and my landlord, the property managers and the landlord of the shopping center were walking around with this guy. And I'm like, dude, it looked like Jason Kelce to a T, just a little less gray in his beard. My God, it was like a masonry company or something. That dude looked like Jason Kelce to a T. But he's the heir apparent, and so Steen will be there eventually. But this year, where's Tyler Steen going to fit in? Well, you need guys, your backup offensive lineman, need to be able to fill multiple voids on a line. If Cam Jurgens get hurt, he can fill in there. He's getting practice at right tackle and left tackle, Tyler Steen. He's going to be a swing guy on that line. So what I'm reading into it is not a bad thing about Nolan Smith, not a bad thing that Steen is at left tackle. How I read it is they're finding ways to make him as flexible this year as a rookie as possible. Lane Johnson will miss time. He does all the time. Jordan Mailata missed time last year. You got Jason Kelce's old. Who knows? Landon Dickerson's been injured in college a lot. He misses plays. So what I see it is Tyler Steen is getting experience. You got Tyler Steen. They brought in Josh Anderson. They got Opeda. They got a bunch of backup guys. Jack Driscoll is having a terrible camp from everything I'm reading. You need somebody that could slide into any spot on that line and perform it and fill in for 5 plays. Tyler Steen's learning it all, and I love it. I love it I really, really do. Serenity now. Absolutely, serenity now. Um, I think they make Steen the swing tackle, which is not a bad thing. A swing tackle that can play guard. Look, no offense to Jack Driscoll. I had high hopes for Jack Driscoll when we drafted him. I've tried to stay on the Jack Driscoll fan. I even said at the beginning of camp that maybe Jack Driscoll was a long shot, but had a shot at the right guard position. He was drafted to be a guard. They said he had too short of arms to be a tackle. He's been that swing tackle and whatnot. But if there comes down to it, you got they brought back Josh Anderson. They brought back Dennis Kelly. You got Steen. That's 8. You got your 5 starters and Steen, Driscoll, or Steen, Kelly, and hit. There's a scenario where Jack Driscoll doesn't make this team. I really think he's having a bad enough camp that there's a chance. It's a long shot because he's a veteran. He's been here for a few years. He knows this team and system. But there's a chance that Jack Driscoll doesn't make this team. That's why they keep bringing in more and more linemen. The only one that makes money sports betting. Well, I make money sports betting. I just don't bet big. And I do put out my bets every Sunday morning on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. I will put my weekly bets out there all the time for you guys. And I do make more money than I lose. You should be following me for my golf picks. I make plenty of money on golf picks every week. Never bought the idea that a guy who played left tackle all through high school and college could be plugged in at right guard as a rookie. Yeah, it's fair. It's funny because I've had 2 former Eagles offensive linemen on shows in the past. I've had Trey Thomas on. I interviewed Trey Thomas once before, and I had Jeremy Bridges on multiple times. And they both give you, I forget which one which. One tells you there's no difference, and the other one tells you there's a huge difference. And I respect both their opinions massively. But they say the harder thing they always tell you is if you play the left side all the time, it's harder to move to the right side because of the footwork being different a little bit. But going left guard to left tackle or left tackle to left guard is not as hard. Going left to right is harder. But we'll see how it shakes out. Steen will be a beast. He just has to wait his time. Everyone has to wait their time, and I'm fine with that. And he's learning so many other things. Toth is the one that is disappointing. I think he's the one that's getting all the backup center reps right now. I think he's getting all the backup center. Trey is the one that says it's a huge difference switching sides. Yeah, it was 2.5 years ago when I had Trey Thomas on. It was like a Thanksgiving week show. It was like a Wednesday night show. My first network, I actually started from scratch with a couple guys. We had Trey Thomas on, and it was my first big interview that I ran, and a lot of I need to go back and rewatch that episode, even though it was 2.5 years ago. But it was great. Josh Joby, Kayvon Wallace, all looking good from reports. Yeah, I'm hearing some good things about Josh Joby. He's been getting playing time. He got a lot of 1 snaps, the few practices that Bradbury missed. Kayvon, I at this moment, Davey, without a shadow of a doubt, at this moment, it could change by Saturday night. It could change next week. But right now, if the first week, game 1 against the Patriots was tonight, Kayvon Wallace is starting opposite Reed Blankenship at safety. I'm not doubting that whatsoever. Footwork is totally different on a lot of things with the offensive line. It's just what's easier to transition. And I think that's it. But I don't even know how we got onto this. I was trying to talk defense, and we got onto offense. And somehow here we are. I wish I had my notebook. I left it on the kitchen table in there. Hold on. I got text messages. I got a lot going on today at the pizza shop, too. Big catering order this morning. Luckily, my wife was fantastic, and she went in at 7:30 this morning so that I could do this show, and she can get most of the work done by the time I get there by 10 o'clock so we could pump this catering order out. She's just texting me about things. But, yeah, luckily she's awesome, and she went in at 7:30 for me. You brought up Tyler Steen. Look, I'm a Tyler Steen guy. I think there's so much – and look, this goes back to Howie. Like, he's people say he's not a football mind, but he is. Like, he's got this great offensive line. He keeps getting the next guy. Drafting Cam Jurgens last year, Dickerson the year before that, Mailata the year before that, now Tyler Steen, bringing in these guys so that when one guy moves on, you've got the next guy there already. That's the sign of a great general manager right there. If Driscoll is getting destroyed by Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in camp, I wouldn't be too critical. That's a fair statement, mister. Very fair statement. He is getting destroyed by 2 guys that both arguably could have been top 5 picks in the draft. I still say to this day, when all these quarterbacks that went early bomb, that when we do revisionist theory redrafts of this year's draft, that Jalen Carter might be a top 3 pick. 5 years from now, when we look back, if he meets his potential, he will be redrafted in the top 3 of most NFL drafts when you re-look back at this. So there is that part of it. And that is something, who's winning in camp, the offense or the defense, whatever. Something about this Super Bowl hangover, which is the topic of the day. Like, you're not practicing against the Houston Texans defense. You're not practicing against the Colts offense. You're not practicing. Like, we got a joint practice next week with the Browns. You're not practicing against the Browns. The best offense in football is practicing against one of the best defenses in football. You got a top 3 offense versus a top 5 defense every day in practice. So somebody's going to look bad some days, the other side's going to look bad. That's right. Shout out to Mrs. Phil. She is crushing it today. Got a large hoagie tray, chicken fingers, pizzas, multiple big catered salads. Like a $500 catering order. She's in there at 7:30 working on it, chopping the lettuce and tomatoes and putting the hoagie tray together. So when I get there, I can just bang out the pizzas and send it off on its way on the delivery. I think Edmonds is still the starter at safety, not in the preseason, but the 10th he's in there. I don't think he is at this point, Tyrone. He still might be by that point. But I think the team really wants to see what Kayvon Wallace has. And Kayvon Wallace is getting a lot more reps at 1 than Terrell Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds being used in a flex role a lot more. And I think at this point, Kayvon Wallace is the lead. Doesn't mean he's going to keep the lead. Kayvon Wallace is going to be one of those starters that gets playing time on Saturday. Not every starter will, but he will. Tanner McKee versus Look, stop. Marcus Mariota is your backup quarterback. Tanner McKee is on your practice squad. Ian Book is cut. That's all there is to it. I will be interested to see Tanner McKee in practice or in the game, and you're going to see him get a quarter or 2. And then in preseason game 3, you're probably going to see only Tanner McKee in preseason game 3. You're going to see a lot of them. Toss worm burners were a big reason why a lot of struggled. Mrs. Phil grinding on those orders, and you're here talking sports in the back room to 10 degenerates. I know. I love it. That's why we need the $500 super chats. We need the super chats to be bigger than the catering orders. She just says she lets me do this so someday she could be when I'm rich and famous, that she could be a stay-at-home puppy mom, and that's it. Super Bowl repeat and repent, spell check, are very hard now. And yeah, I don't know. 3 safeties. We might run 3 safeties. You don't see a traditional Eagles defense anymore. You don't. You have 5 down guys, 4 or 5 down guys, 1 or 2 linebackers, and a bunch of secondary guys. So that's what you got. You got 5 down, 2 linebackers, 4 defensive backs. It's all different kinds of things. That's why linebackers got to be able to cover. That's why safeties got to be able to stop the run. The creativity that goes in with the Eagles defense. The only concern is now, and it's from that report yesterday, and with everything happening with Sean Desai and Howie Roseman yesterday, I am concerned. And the thing is, like, preseason games. Everyone says the offenses are very vanilla. Well, so are the defenses. Sean Desai is not going to go out there and show any exotic blitz packages or, exotic, defensive schemes. So they got to be working on it in practice. And they got to nail that communication down in practice. Because week 1 against the Patriots is the first time we're going to see the real defense. And we are now 10 days. Well, what's today? Today's Thursday. I think we're about 10 or 11 days in since the first practice. It was what, last Tuesday was no. It was like late July. So we're over 2 weeks into training camp here. Maybe 10 practices, 2 weeks worth of camp. And we're still having basic communication issues. And that does worry me. I've said it since day one. 2 new coordinators, Brian Johnson and Sean Desai. Brian Johnson doesn't even know whether he wants to call the plays on the sideline or in the booth. He said he used to do it in the booth. He'll do it on the sideline maybe for communication purposes. I worry about communication. And I worry about Sean Desai, whether he'll be ready for it. Now, He's a Vic Fangio, disciple, and Chicago in 2021 was a disastrous season for the whole organization. But I worry. And we're not even going to be able to find out whether we can calm down from those worries till the season actually starts. Week 5, 4 p.m. Rams. Yeah, of course it's a win. Offense is designed to create chunk plays. Defense is designed to prevent them. Roster is constructed accordingly. Simple, really. That's fair. Phil, what's your top 3 most hated NFL teams? I don't know. Dallas, New York, got to be up there. Obviously, for rival reasons. I don't really hate the Washington whatever as much as Dallas and them. Right now, I'd probably put the 49ers in that top 3 just because they're a bunch of crybabies. But I'm really close to putting the Chiefs because they're the ones that knocked us off. They're the ones that recency bias might put the Chiefs at 3, 49ers at 4. 49ers only because they're crybaby and because my brother's a Fugazi 49ers fan. It's the only reason. I know you all love his hair and beard, but he's a Fugazi 49ers fan. He's only a fan when they're good. And he's never been an Eagles fan for some reason. But you got to put the Cowboys and Giants. I understand some people put the Giants ahead of the Cowboys, but I still put the Cowboys ahead of the Giants. I really do. Still going on the schedule. Let me know when you get to the last week. There are 90 players on the field they had one miscommunication. But is it one miscommunication? Is this the first time, Tyrone? Is this just the fourth time Howie Roseman saw it, and he's like, I got to stop this? Like that's the way I'm looking at it from both sides. I get what you're saying, but how do we know it's just the first time? We've heard reports of communication issues, just no details on what they are. So what if this has been an ongoing thing that Howie Roseman's just like, yo, I got to say something. Nick Sirianni doesn't see it. I see it. I got to say something. Got to be better. Got to clean up. What else are we supposed to overreact to? Well, we can overreact to Derek Barnett still. Everybody wants to talk this. Nobody's talking the Derek Barnett situation. Derek Barnett's fighting for his spot and causing problems. 49ers on your top 3 most hated just because they're crybabies, right? Yeah, the communication issue started when got hurt. That's a fair thing. He is the quarterback of the defense. And I think it's a fair thing there to say that. Also goes to show that Nakobe Dean is going to be very important on this defense. He's going to be given every opportunity possible. Every opportunity to be the stud on this defensive leader. Why don't you like Travis Kelce? For some reason, like I'm reading comments, I'm talking, I'm looking. We only have 13 likes over here on YouTube. Can't stand Travis Kelce. Why? I need a better description. He's pompous, he's arrogant, he's all that. His clothing choice at the match with him and Mahomes versus Curry and Thompson, odd. But he's like the greatest tight end. I know you guys said no, I was wrong. It's Gronk, but the greatest tight end in football history, in my opinion, already. Like how this guy is 6'8", 390. He's like bigger than the Jolly Green Giant, and yet he gets open on every single play. He is such a great route runner. He catches the ball. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking. He's our favorite player's brother. He's got a fantastic podcast. I don't hate Travis Kelce that much. Just Jets up there now with A-Rod. Yeah, man, I'm on. You know me. I'm on the Jets hate train. I'm hoping for a 6-win Jets season this year. I would be jumping up and down on the show if they win 6 games. Add me as a Giants better than Cowboys. Yeah, there's a lot of Eagles fans that actually hate the Giants more than the Cowboys, and I get it. It's the Cowboys. Certain memories as a kid, more of them came from the Giants than the Cowboys and the Giants. The Willie T. If you know what 4th and 2 times 2 means, that was against the Cowboys. That Halloween game back in the early 90s when Emmitt Smith and it was in pouring rain and rushed for like 2 million yards in the game. They blew us out. That was against the Cowboys. Cowboys winning all those Super Bowls just irked me. I don't know. It's the Philly media. They look for everything. Well, we got it. I mean, it would be pretty boring if we got 0 camp reports from them. It'd be really boring if we just sat here and just guessed what was happening every day during training camp. And the first glimpse we got of our team was in the preseason game, that would be really boring. We need the media to tell us things. We just need them to do it more objectively and have less of an agenda. My Bills soften you up. Yeah, no. 49ers do suck. 40 whiners. And that's the only reason why I hate them. And I don't know who Travis Kelce. No, I don't know. He seems like he could be a little bit of a tool, but man, I don't have any hate towards him. I don't know how nobody ever covers him. Like, it boggles my mind. Like, the dude is obviously fantastic, and you could put two bodies on him, he'll still probably catch it. But he's wide open every single. All Patrick Mahomes has to drop back and be like, "Where's Kelce? There he is, wide open." I don't agree. I think Kelce, and I don't even know if Gronk's the second best tight end. People forget about Tony Gonzalez. I mean, that guy was a monster. You got to put Tony Gonzalez at 1 or 2, Kelce at 1 or 2. Gronk would probably be 3. Yeah, in history. I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad thing. I don't know. There's going to be a Twitter poll. There's going to be a Twitter poll about this one later. I don't know when, but I'm going to try to do it today. Would you have drafted Ertz or Kelce? Because Chip did have that choice. Well, obviously, now looking back, I would draft Kelce over Ertz because he's obviously the best. Ertz is winding down at this point. No one hates the Patriots anymore. They stink. As long as Mac Jones is their quarterback, the Patriots aren't winning nothing. Mac Jones is not, I've said this before, not an NFL quarterback. Bill Belichick, yeah. Like, he's just funny now. Like, Bill Belichick's like Greg Popovich in the NBA. I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't. That's my point. Which one? Hold on. What was your last point? Yeah. Sorry, when we fall about 15 comments behind, I forget what we're talking about. The point is that the media just needs to be more objective. I get that for sure. Buffalo ended camp today, and now media cut off. Not sure how many others did this. Well, in Philly, a lot of the media, certain days they're allowed, certain days they're not. Goddard's going to have a breakout year, Dimitri. I hope so. Dallas Goedert could be one of the 3 best tight ends in the NFL this year. Big point. Got to stay healthy. 12 games over the last 3 years he's missed. Twice in the last 3 years he's missed 5 games. Guy's got to stay on the field. If he does, he could catch 1,000 yards. But the problem is he doesn't stay healthy. Both Kelce brothers are outgoing extroverts. Jason just comes off more humble. Oh, for sure. It's because he's married and he's got kids. Kelsey's like a bachelor partying and out in Vegas all the time. Gronk is better than Tony Gonzalez and Travis Kelce. I don't know, man. I lived through that Tony Gonzalez era. Just think about it. Tony Gonzalez and Travis Kelce, both in Kansas City throughout their careers. Man, crazy. I mean, Tony Gonzalez was just such a beast, man. Such a beast. And Gronk, I don't know. I love him, but I don't know if he's I don't think he's quite there. Philadelphia Eagles back DeAndre Swift could challenge by the fact that yeah. Well, we saw Kenneth Gainwell a lot in the 2-minute drill last year. Not even just in the playoffs, like in the regular season. The Eagles love Gainwell along the goal line. We've heard reports of Swift and Gainwell both in the backfield at the same time to start plays. Swift runs out, and then he confuses the defenses. I'm super excited about that. I've been asking for the Eagles to run that style of offense for a while now, and they just don't do it. Could you just imagine a defense when you got Jalen Hurts in shotgun, DeAndre Swift on one side, Kenneth Gainwell on the other side, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. When you got those 5 guys and Dallas Goedert at the tight end position, all on the field at the same time, defense is going to just look at each other and be like, who do we cover? They're probably 8 from, Ozzie Newsome is so underrated in talk. I have to double back to Ozzie Newsome, but I don't know if he's great. Dallas has stunk for 30 years. Yeah, I mean, Dallas is always like, I always joke that Dallas fans are just jealous. That's why they always call us out and make jokes and whatnot. They're jealous of us. But we were all jealous of Dallas. Like 30 years ago, the last time they were good. Yeah, no Brady, no Patriots. We have a good tight end, obviously. Just needs to stay healthy. Who sees the hype with Kittle? I don't know what people see in him. He's just he's just like this gritty, tough guy. Like he blocks. He when he makes a vicious block, he's got this like evil, like villain grin. Like he catches the ball well. He's a really good tight end, but there's such a massive difference between Travis Kelce and George Kittle. And there, I think he's just there's not much of a difference between Kittle, Goddard, Waller, Ingram as people think there is. But Kittle is still a really good tight end. So no Super Bowl hangover. No, the Eagles are not having a Super Bowl hangover. That was the title of the show. We got about 10 minutes left in this show. Yeah, I know he's a Hall of Famer, but I'm just saying that, like, I don't remember much about him. Obviously, before my regular time of watching, like, it's not like in my brain his information. I would have to think about it. I have to read up on him to really figure out where he ranks in my mind. But yeah, the title of the show, as we wrap the final 10, we get to the 10-minute mark here of this show, is The Hangover. And we've talked about this. Like, we've got one real true concern, in my opinion. And that is what Sean Desai is going to look like as a defense. Just hear me out. Not to be negative. We see this miscommunication issue happening on the defense. We see Howie Roseman calling out Sean Desai on the sidelines. What if Sean Desai is not a good defensive coordinator? Is this defense good enough? We started the show talking about the Phillies and the magic of the ballpark last night. Michael Lorenzen and all. Like, the Phillies win despite Rob Thompson making bad decisions because the talent is there. The Phillies are an overly talented baseball team with a mid-manager. Is this Eagles defense talented enough to make up for any shortcomings of the defensive coordinator? Some say Jonathan Gannon was a good coordinator. Some say he was an awful coordinator last year. But the defense was stacked defensively, talent-wise, that no matter what, he's got Hassan Reddick dropping into coverage. Well, Josh Sweat's got double-digit sacks, and Fletcher Cox was close, and Hargrave had double-digit sacks, and we had 70 sacks on defense. So we made up for it. The Bears' defense was 6 in points allowed, with 0 talent. Isn't that the year Robert Quinn had like 200 sacks too? I don't remember, but the team was just terrible, and the organization was terrible. So I'm trying not to blame Sean Desai for that year, but that is his one time as the top guy. I have faith in Sirianni as well. I have faith that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts won't let hangover happen, mistakes happen. Now, I'm not saying we're making it. Well, I am saying they're making it back to the Super Bowl, but I'm not saying they are guaranteed to make it back. Once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. It's what's so great about the football playoffs. There's no second chances. But they're going to have the best regular season because I have faith in the leaders of this team. But the one concern I still have is what's going to happen if Sean Desai is not a good coordinator. We're scoring many points, getting big leads, and having weak run defense. Won't matter much. Yeah, this defense could give up 25 points a game. We're still going to win more than we lose because our offense is, I don't know if you guys agree. Our offense is better than our offense last year. This year will be better than last year offensively. I think we have multiple weapons in the backfield. Hurts is 1 year better. Devontae Smith is 1 year better. The offensive line is strong. I think there's a chance this offense. Last year we averaged 29.2 points a game. Is it hard to think that we're going to score over 30? Last year we scored 29 point whatever points a game, and we had big leads a lot of the time, and we took the foot off the pedal. Hey, I don't want to see them take the foot off the pedal. There's going to be a lot more competitive games this year where we're not going to be able to take the foot off the pedal. This offense is going to score north of 30 points per game. So to do that, the defense can give up more. The defense is going to give up more points because we've got Buffalo. We've got Kansas City. We've got some really strong offenses. That's right. We all agree. We agree that this offense is going to be fire. The linebacker. We said it before. We're going to talk a little bit more detailed tomorrow about the linebackers. We got 5 minutes left here. It's going to be a position that on Saturday and next week and every week in these preseason games that I'm going to keep my eye on. Howie Roseman doesn't make moves like Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham this early in camp. Tells me something. Howie Roseman doesn't moves like Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham if there's not a concern. There's a serious concern at linebacker. And, these moves say that. The Kobe Dean missing practice, and then all of a sudden communication issues coming out. It all links together. Somebody early in the show, one of the first comments, we're at 160 some comments, it'll be too hard to go back and find. Somebody said, does Nicholas Barrow or whatever his name is? I don't even want to remember his name because I don't think he makes the team. They asked, is he going to make the team? And I think these moves of Jack and Cunningham are proof that there's a chance that guy doesn't make this team. Swift, Kenny G, and Sermon going to feast. Is that who you think Sermon? But again, I said it. We're going to go over this 53-man roster tomorrow, and where the preseason games are going to affect the roster. The last 3 years, the Eagles have only carried 3 running backs coming out of training camp. If they do that again, obviously Swift and Kenny G are the 2 of them. That means Sermon, Scott, and Penny are all fighting for one roster spot. Scott kick returns. Found out Penny does too yesterday. Sermon, I'm a Sermon guy, but Sermon might be the odd man out. Then you somebody threw Kennedy Brooks into the conversation yesterday as well. So we'll see. They needed bodies. Taylor cut, dealing with injuries. They cut Taylor so that they could bring in those bodies. Let's just be honest. It wasn't just a body filler, those 2 guys. It was because that Taylor was getting cut, and they needed somebody to place him, and they don't have confidence in the other guys. That is why they brought them in, not just to be camp bodies. There's zero at this point. If today had to be the final roster, Jack and Cunningham are on that roster, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm rooting hard for Dion Kane. Don't call me Dean Kane. Preaching the sermon. Look, somebody called me out yesterday about I always call everybody out for their Tyree Jackson love. It's similar to the Trey Sermon love. Never done anything really. So, I don't, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it is Boston Scott or Rashad Penny that gets that final spot. Oh, I'm sleeping on Kenny Brooks. Kenny Brooks has 0 chance at making this roster, but he will make the practice squad. I wouldn't doubt him. I wouldn't doubt they try to get 2 running backs on the practice squad. Kennedy Brooks and one of the guys they cut. I got a feeling Desai will coach better against good quarterbacks, but he underperforms against bad offenses. Huh. Interesting. I got to think about that for a little bit. But it's possible. It's very possible. But if you're not concerned about Sean Desai or Brian Johnson, that has to be where we put our main focus of concern. Not whether Trey Sermon or Rashad Penny are the final running back taken. It's what are the – and the thing is, these new young coordinators, one in Desai has done it before. Brian Johnson hasn't. He did it in college with Kyle Trask at Florida, but that's a different ballgame. If you're saying, as an Eagles fan, you're 100% confident that our new coordinators are going to be fine, then you're just way over the top confident. You've got to think about there being some doubt, some possibility that they struggle. That would good looking at the strength of schedule this year. Look, the strength of schedule is tough. I'm not going to doubt it. But our schedule was weak to start the year. But if you look at what the strength of schedule was at this end of the season, a lot of our teams had winning records that we faced last year. It was tougher. It played out tougher than it perceived to be. And we say this schedule's tough. That's based off of last year's results. Some of these teams are going to be better than last year. Some of them are going to be worse than last year. So I don't buy into the strength of schedule conversation so much. I buy into the track of the schedule and the way it's easy at the beginning, really tough in the middle, then easy to close. That's a problem. I look at that. I look at the back-to-back games that we have and who we're playing and the travel schedule and when and where. That's what I look at when I look at a schedule. And when I make a prediction, I look at, when we play Buffalo, who do they play the week before? Who do they play the week after? Where's their bye week around that game? That's what I am looking at when I look at a schedule and how good or easy or hard it is. And when I make my prediction, I predict it, not blindly, not with, Eagles fan goggles on. I predicted a 15-2 team that was going to win the Super Bowl last year based off of the detailed study of the schedule. I was one game off. And I think they could have won that Cowboys game, which would have been it. This close. I was this close to being right last year. I see Blankenship is a lock for starting safety. Yeah, I mean, there is like, you always see Davon. You always see certain starters. You don't ever play the locks, and Jalen Hurts won't play on Saturday. A.J. Brown probably won't play on Saturday. Jason Kelsey won't play. If you're going to not play anybody that's a lock to start, Blankenship fits into that group. Blankenship is a lock to start. He's a lock. Like, if you're going to rest people, I mean, you just rest him too. Because you lose him, you might be in trouble. 75% confident. Look, you could be confident in the coordinators, but you got to understand, you got to realistically look at things. It says I'm way over the top and way over the top with things here. You got to look realistically. You got to look without the Eagles' green blinders on. And there are concerns. And what our coordinators look like has to be at the top of the list, or one of the top things at the list. Has to be. There's not much room for anything other than that. Nobody knows who's even going to be healthy in November. Exactly. On any team, on our team or other team. Like, we hit that 9:30 mark. We got to start the wrap-up process. Back tomorrow. We'll talk this preseason game, who we're looking at for this preseason game against Baltimore. We won't it doesn't matter whether you make predictions or not. I mean, it is what it is. It's a preseason game. I know they're underdogs, but we got to wrap this up. I got to get to work. I got to let the dogs out, give them their bones for the day, take care of them, and I get to work here. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Again, shout out to Michael Lorenzen. I know who you are now. Yeah, I took a beating last night for that one. Preseason football, man. We'll learn more from the scrimmages the next 2. This Tyrone, spot on. No $500, no $5, no nothing. But I got to wrap it up, guys. Everybody have a good one. Great day today, guys. Great job today, as always. Make sure we hit the like button, share this out. Tell your friends to watch on replay. 15 likes. It's just not good enough. Yesterday's show ended up getting close to 25 likes. We got to do better, guys. Got to help that algorithm. Everybody have a great Thursday. Back tomorrow. Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. I am Phil Stiefel. Let me get that comment off the screen. And y'all have a great day, guys.